This is Classic FM.
Well, I'm very happy to be having a chat with Craig Ogden, a guitarist whose name will be familiar to many people, if not everybody who listens to Classic FM. Craig, good to see you again.
Thanks, John.
We're here to talk principally about Christmas. Now, Christmas where you come from is a radically different proposition to Christmas in the UK, I believe.
Well, it is.
Just set it for us, Christmas Day.
It's hot. That's the big difference. It's the middle of summer. And having grown up there, that seems entirely normal to me. But it's funny that people will do things like paint the fake snow frosting on their windows. So even though it might be, 40 degrees outside, you still have the classic European look of Christmas with Santa in the big red thing. And a lot of people will do the big roast turkey lunch thing as well, even though all you really want to eat is cold salads and cold meats and things like that. But, it's very European culture, basically. And apart from the fact that it's ridiculously hot, then it is essentially the same sort of thing. And the most important things, spending time with family and friends, are obviously exactly the same.
And you've been in the UK now for how many years?
Oh, I hardly dare say. A long time. I hit that point recently where it was more than half of my life.
Really? That must be quite significant.
Well, it is. I mean, I never really felt like an expat, although my accent has changed over the years. I certainly don't sound as Australian as I did when I first came over to the UK. But I still, feel Australian, but live here and love living here. And I have been home quite a lot, at least usually, on average about once a year over the years. So, I love being Australian, but love being here at the same time.
Now, Christmas is the theme of the new album,
Yep.
Of course. Let's talk a little bit about that. When we think of Christmas, and we tend to think of carols, musically speaking,
Yeah.
so no vocalists here, so just instrumental music.
Well, I think it's an album designed to be put on to help create a really nice Christmassy atmosphere. And whilst it is an album you could sit down and listen to, in making the arrangements for solo guitar, I went to all the trouble I could to make sure that they were interesting pieces to play and to listen to. So hopefully guitarists or people who like guitar music will find enough interest in there, even though these tunes do go around and around. It's normally the words that create the interest. But then on top of that, we have some other popular ones like The Fairy Tale of New York, which is a bit of a surprising inclusion, but works really well in arrangement with strings, and Walking in the Air, and what else had strings on them? God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, I think was one of the ones with strings. So there's really variety there. And some popular tunes like Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, Chestnuts Roasting, and then some of the carols you would expect, like, Away in a Manger, Silent Night, and so on. So we went for a really good variety of old and new, a nice mix of solo guitar, two guitars, guitar multi-tracked, and then guitar with strings. So hopefully the way the album pans out and the way it's track listed, it will present variety and interest and just provide a lovely backing track to people's Christmases.
Well, you certainly made an excellent case for it there.
Oh, well.
You presumably did all the guitar arrangements yourself. How about the orchestral arrangements? Who looked after the strings?
I've worked 3 times now with a lovely couple called James Morgan and Juliet Pochin.
Oh, yeah.
And they are hugely experienced arrangers and composers, conductors, singers, and they did all the arrangements of the 5 tracks that have strings on them, and really creative, inventive arrangements. So, they really bring something fresh to music that's very familiar.
Knowing the way these things work, Craig, you don't have the luxury of recording in December when everybody starts to feel Christmassy. So tell us about the actual recording session. What was it, in the heat wave in July?
It was the beginning of September, in fact. And I'd been really busy across the summer. So getting around to doing the arrangements of all the tracks was a little bit late in the day. So I spent the last 2 weeks of August outside in our garden. We have a shed cum studio type thing where I work and practice, and there's a piano and all our music. And so I basically spent all day, every day out there making these arrangements. And when I did come into the house, I'd inevitably be humming Christmas tunes. And it was really incongruous. And it took ages for my kids and wife to get their heads around me humming, Silent Night or whatever it was, at the end of August, when no one is thinking about Christmas. Christmas. So, but obviously, and then we went into the studio, and they were saying at Angel Studios there that they'd been doing lots of Christmas albums. So some portions of the society have to get into Christmas mode a little bit earlier than the rest of us.
Indeed. Of course, in the studio you've got the air conditioning, so you can crank that up to
Yeah,
at least
yeah,
make it cold.
feel cold, yeah, absolutely.
Although not too cold, because then the fingers don't work.
No, that's a killer in winter, because I do a lot of concerts in small churches where music clubs often have their concerts because they're lovely buildings and nice acoustics. But doing a church out in the country in the middle of January can be a real challenge on the cold finger front.
Do you prefer to work in a natural acoustic even when you're recording? I mean, is that important, or can it all be done electronically these days?
It can all be done hugely convincingly electronically, but purely as a player, if you could choose, I would certainly choose to be in a nice natural acoustic. It's a more natural way to play. When you're doing it in studio, you may or may not have headphones on, which can recreate that effect, but it's lovely to hear the sound rolling around the room a little bit, and I think it can help you to relax a little bit more, but it works perfectly well in a dry room with the reverb added afterwards as well. And you have to be versatile enough to do all of those things and to do them with the same musicianship and to feel as good about it. Obviously we want the end result to sound the same wherever you do the recording.
Well, Craig, as ever, it's lovely to see you here at Classic FM, and may I be the first, possibly, to wish you a very happy Christmas here in the UK.
And you. Thanks very much, John.
This is Classic FM.